tonight we're joined by the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission, Montek Singh to give us a sneak peek into what we're looking ahead to in the year ahead. A tough year for the economy so far, both domestic and, of course, global factors adding to the pain, sir. Mr. Ahluwalia, what do you really think will change in 2012?
Well, as you say, I think 2011 everywhere has been a year of slowdown, and I think most people are hoping that 2012 will be a year where we can improve. Certainly, as far as India is concerned, I think we can actually achieve a turnaround from the low point reached in 2011-12 and aim at a better performance in 2012-2013. Now, we haven't given numbers to this, but I'm assuming that if, for example, in 2011-2012, we end up with a growth rate, say, around 7% or so, we should be able to improve that very significantly in the year 2012-2013, perhaps to 8% or a little more than that.
Over 8% growth in 2012-13. That's being optimistic, Mr. Ahluwalia. But one thing that needs to happen for such strong growth is reforms. And the standoff between the government and the opposition has derailed plenty of reforms in 2011. What is your own sense? Do you think once the state assembly elections are over, the government will be able to push the pedal on some of these reforms like FDI and retail, pension, insurance, banking?
Well, you know, I don't understand this concept of second-generation reforms and then putting whatever reforms haven't been done in the list of second-generation reforms. I mean, there are a number of reforms in the pipeline, including, of course, FDI and retail and many of the legislative changes. I think there are also a number of steps that we have to take in the executive area which don't actually require legislation. So I'm certainly hoping that in the year ahead, we will be able to get back to the agenda of putting the economy on a better, faster growth, more inclusive growth.
Right. Mr. Ahluwalia, one of the things that also needs to be tackled is inflation. It's shown a downward trend, but many experts believe that's because of a low base effect. How certain are you of headline inflation at 7% for the end of this fiscal and the fact that the trajectory will decrease after that?
I think there's a very good prospect that we will end the year. That means in the data for March 2012, when they become available, which would be sometime in April, that what you would have is the headline inflation would be somewhere around 7%. That's a very big change from the double-digit inflation that was plaguing the economy for quite some time. And more importantly, I think it indicates that the difficult bits of the inflation cycle are over. And with good growth, better fiscal management, watchful monetary policy and so on, we should be able to do even better than 7% in the next year.
And surely that should come as some hope for most people who are watching this. But Mr. Ahluwalia, meanwhile, the macro situation is not something that's pleasing either the markets or the foreign investor. The government cannot meet the 4.6 fiscal deficit target. How much do you think it'll have to stretch that, and really how much are you catering for?
The fiscal deficit this year will be much higher than was targeted. I think that's actually true not only in India but in most other countries. And you know, when you get an economic slowdown, one of the things that happens is that you get a sort of cyclical deterioration in the fiscal deficit, which should not be a big surprise. I think the finance minister has said that we want to get back onto the path of fiscal consolidation, but you will have to wait until the budget is presented to get a sense of what the numbers are going to be next year. But the direction has been very clearly stated by the finance minister on several occasions.
Right, okay, so when we put these two macro figures together, one is the expectation on growth that you just talked about, you know, expecting it to inch forward, upwards in 2013. What are we looking at in the more short term? Are we clearly looking at what would be stuck sub 7% short term?
We've had mixed signals. I mean, October industrial production level was negative, the growth rate was negative. The November industrial production showed a big revival. The latest figures that we have for December of the Purchase Managers Index, the PMI, which is kind of an indication of demand in the system, seems to show a big improvement. So I'm hopeful that in the third quarter of this year, we'll be able to say that the steady deceleration has come to an end, and maybe we can begin some sort of recovery. I think there's a good prospect that we will end the year with 7% growth. We need to do a lot better than that next year. How much that will be is difficult to tell at the moment.
But Mr. Ahluwalia, you spoke about the fiscal deficit target as well. Now, one of the reasons that's being overshot is because the government subsidy burden has gone up substantially. Food, fuel, fertilizer, all of those bills have gone up significantly. And at the same time, the government says fiscal consolidation is crucial. Isn't the government's walk very different from its talk?
Well, I think it's not the walk up to now, it's the walk in the year ahead. I think this issue was quite firmly addressed by the Prime Minister in his New Year's message. And he did say that, in the case of food subsidy, clearly, as a conscious decision, we're going to bear a little bit more of a burden, but that means that other subsidies have to be contained. He did talk about energy subsidies, which are excessive. Now, we're not in a position to outline right now what the government intends to do, but I would hope that during the course of the next few months, we would get a clear signal of what steps are being taken to reduce other subsidies.
But you're hoping, and so am I. We're all hoping out there. So the question is, what should we really hope for? Are we expecting reforms? You just alluded to FDI and retail. You know how controversial it's been. So there is no clarity in terms of timelines. What should we really look forward to? Is there some concrete reform expected over the next couple of months? Should we have something on the ground moving?
The tremendous uncertainties in Europe, etc., will have been reduced somewhat. Given India's strong domestic fundamentals, high savings rate, a lot of entrepreneurial capacity, good skills endowment, etc., I think we need to concentrate on some of the most important impediments to investment at the moment. These are really in the infrastructure sectors, delivering enough coal to power, accelerating the pace of investment in areas like roads. I think more broadly, doing a lot better in rural infrastructure development, rural road connectivity, irrigation, etc., all of which would give a big stimulus to demand in the short run and also to productivity in the longer run.